Hi, this is Eric, and if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, right down there is a subscribe button. Click that, subscribe with us. We would love to have you along for the journey. Hi, this is Eric, and I'm with Driven Industries, and I want to thank you for tuning into our podcast. You know, I created this company around people helping people, and, you know, no one going through it alone and no one struggling alone. And so I've done these weekly podcasts, and again, really appreciate you tuning in. If you get a chance, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, you know, like our podcasts, you know, share them with your friends, because it's about sharing the resources and the tools that we learn that really can make a difference in other people's lives. So welcome you to the podcast here this week, and I really want to give a special thanks to Kim. I do an interview with her here, and she's been through a lot, and Kim's one of the first people that ever reached out to me and needed somebody to talk to, and she had lost her son to suicide the same year and month that I lost my dad. So, you know, to have her share her story is actually, I know it has to be painful for her. A lot of people don't like to share their story when it comes to, you know, losing somebody to suicide. It's painful, and it's really recounting those memories and those feelings that you went through. But I think it's a really powerful story, and I really appreciate her sharing it. So I end up giving her a call here in a second and having her share about it. And the build up to it is amazing, and it's about people helping people. The more that we can learn from each other, and the more that we learn, you know, what each other's going through, the bigger impact we can have on each other's lives. It's amazing. So I hope you get as much out of this as I really did. And again, I really appreciate her sharing this, because I know it definitely couldn't have been easy. So here I go, and let's share this together. I think it's a pretty amazing story. Well, I mean, what got you into starting to do Twitter in the first place?
Because when my son died, I told you he was so into Chester and Chris Cornell and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when they both killed themselves, he went downhill fast. It was between everything he was going through, and then Chris Cornell, and then Chester, and then his fiance that left him, and then she went and waited 2 weeks and went on to one of his good friends and started dating him. So everything the kid went crazy. He was already going crazy. He needed help. He needed medicine. He didn't do anything. So
did he have a psychiatrist or anything like that he went and saw?
I brought him it was only like down the street, and I had to drive him because he couldn't even walk. It was only like 4 blocks down the street, and what a nightmare just to put him in the car, just drive him down the street, because he would just scream at me and punch my car and call me names. He was just so abusive to me, and I'm starting to think, like, I look back now and start doing research, and I believe he had that personality disorder and detachment disorder.
Borderline personality disorder?
Yeah, big time.
Mm-hmm.
And the detachment disorder, like when you're like, because the way he treated me, like, to be his mother, like, he was just out to kill me at the end. It was so scary. He was out, he threw a knife. I told you, he threw a knife at my head. It went like flying across the room. It hit, like, I was standing like in front of my TV. He threw it across the room. It went into the other side of the room, into the blinds. I made a hole in the blinds. Then he threw it across the room at me again, and it broke the picture. Well, it just made a crack in the picture. It didn't break the picture. And then he started then he started ordering like BB guns on the internet,
mm-hmm.
that could kill you. And I was actually walking. Thank God it was like it could have been 1 second. All I had to do was 1 second more walk. But he was sitting on top of the stairs. Like, you know, I live in a Cape, so when you walk in the door, the stairs are right in front of you.
Right.
And he was sitting on top of the stairs, and the hallway goes, like, towards that way. I was walking that way, and he was sitting on top of the stairs, and he shot at his baby picture on the wall, like, right down below by the front door. And I just was walking through there, like 1 second later, he just would have got me right in my temple.
Oh, wow.
Like, and then I was outside, like, in the yard, and he would go up in the bathroom and open the window and start shooting out the window and trying to kill my animal, because he went crazy, like shooting the animals, which he loved, but shooting birds and my squirrels. And so I would stand out there so he couldn't shoot them, and then he shot at me and hit the tree. I was standing right there, and it was just scary. He went crazy.
Right.
I don't even know what happened to him. It was like a nightmare.
When did it all start going downhill for him?
when did this all start from the very, very beginning?
Uh-huh.
Well, I gotta tell you the truth. 8 months old is when I noticed the horrible tantrums for a baby. Well, he came out like looking around, like he was just scary.
Mm-hmm.
He was not normal. I thought it was like, wow, but no, he was not from the beginning. He came out like that. And like I said, I tell everybody, like, he was 4 months, oh God, what was it? 4 months old, he was sitting up, crawling. 6 months old, scaling couches. By not even a year old, this kid was walking and running. Before a year old, he knew his whole alphabet. He knew every color. He knew all his shapes. He could talk like you wouldn't even believe. He was just a freaking amazing. I don't know. I was like, what? This is a weird kid.
No, I mean, he had really good intelligence.
He was like, like people with mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
That's when when they say they have really high intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
His intelligence was off like the charts. Like his therapist that he was seeing when he died said to me, I've never, ever in my life met anybody, all the patients I've had all these years, never met anybody as intelligent as your son. Because he knew everything about every medicine, everything. He knew everything. He was a manipulator, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but he was. He could manipulate anybody.
Right. When it comes to him though, in like school, I mean, how did he do in school? Did he excel?
His grades were like immaculate, but his behavior was horrible.
Okay.
Like all ends, and I always was getting called. I was always getting called. And then he would go see, something bad would happen, and he got taken to the principal office, and the principal called me and said the reason why he acts like this is because you and your husband, all you do is fight, and you're very violent. And I was like floored. I almost wanted to die. I was like, now how do you explain to somebody? This is all I did all my life, is try to explain to people, no, that's not true. It's not. But I could be a liar, but they don't know that. But I was, honest to God, it was not true. And I tried to explain. I said, it's not true at all. I said, oh my God. And when he got home, I was so upset with him. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to kill you. Why would I called my mother crying, and I was like, why would he do this to me? Why? And I told the principal, you could believe. I said, you could believe whatever you want. I don't care, but it's not true. And
well, after talking to you for the months that we've talked, I mean, I know that you are like one of the most mellow people I know by far. So, but
I've never put my hands on this kid. I never touched him. I don't do violence,
So after high school, did it get worse? Did it go just more downhill?
Well, what happened was pretty much after elementary school, by 5th grade, it was getting bad, and then he just couldn't, middle school, I was like, this is when it all started with getting, probation was involved. He got DCF sent to my house because of his lies. And I was like, so he just
manipulated a lot of people against you guys, and so
I was mortified.
When this all started happening, and this was even in 5th grade. I mean, when did you start having him see a counselor? I mean, did it help at all him going to see someone?
3 years old, I started taking him to. It's called Yale Condic Clinic. It's like it was like a place my friend recommended it to me because it's like a positive thing because he was always doing negative things, so I tried not to. I was focusing on the negative all the time, so it was a place to learn how to
focus on the positive and kind of change your mentality.
Yeah,
right.
Did stickers for every day, and at the end of the week, if he got good, did good all week, we go to the video store. That's why you blew my mind with the Blockbuster all stuff.
Right.
I would take him there, and we'd rent a video, and not a video, a game, an appropriate game for his age, so he could play. And that was his reward. He did good for the week, and nothing.
Well, then if you fast forward, and then he ended up taking his life, and.
Yeah, I'm saying middle school was hard because I had counselors, meetings, they're called parent PPA meetings, whatever they are, where you meet with the counselors and the school, and I did everything. every freaking thing to abide by their rules and to help him. And then he stopped. He wouldn't go to school, so he would like hide in the closet. And the counselor, I would call the school, and they would come over to my house, and he would hide in the closet. We couldn't find him. Lock himself in the bathroom. So they I worked with them like fully, and they knew. And then they at that time and back in those days, they don't do this no more, but. He got a probation officer because he's not going to school. Even though I was working with a therapist and school, and I was on board with everything, they at 12 or 13 years old, because he wouldn't go to school, they put him in a detention center.
Mm-hmm.
Really bad, and I couldn't even believe it. They like put a warrant out for his arrest. 13 years old. Do you believe this?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it happens, and they still
don't do this no more. Only if it's serious.
Only if it's super serious. But and it comes back to, because kind of what I wanted to cover in this too is just it's a process of it's difficult to be a parent,
Yeah,
and especially when you have this going on. Now, did you have like your mom or anybody else help you out with this, or did you talk to anybody about it?
My parents were the best support in my life. Oh my God, my father has passed now, but my mother and father, my sister and her husband now, but they were boyfriend and girlfriend. My other brother and his wife, which were girlfriend and boyfriend then, and my older brother who has passed and his wife, which was his girlfriend then. Because he was the first grandson born on my side of the family, first child. So he was spoiled as shit. I mean, everybody took him out everywhere. And
do you think that helped or did that hurt?
No, it helped.
Okay.
He didn't know how to act appropriate because his brain was not like wired right, and I know that now, but I didn't know it then.
Right.
Like he was just inappropriate, but he did enjoy it, and he was spoiled, and he got everything he ever wanted. No one abused this kid. No one did anything to him. But as he got older, right before he died, he would go into rages. Like, he wasn't my son anymore. Black eyes, drinking, drunk, crazy, saying that you abused me all my life, like a devil, pointing in my face, telling me, don't go to sleep tonight, I'm going to kill you. You abused me all my life, you beat me.
How long did he do that for?
Oh, God, this went on for pretty much the last 5 years of his life. He got so violent with me, and it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And
that time you had quit work and everything, and you were staying home. And
I, for medical reasons, I had to, but I just got abused every day. I was abused. Like, I had a surgery, a hip replacement, and this kid pushed me across the room. Like, I couldn't even walk. I had to use a walker, and he just was so violent with me. I don't know why he did this to me. I don't understand why he wanted to get me. He just wanted, he blamed me, like I did this to him. Because
right.
I always sought help because I called 911. And then every time I called 911 to get him help, they would arrest him because he broke things in my house. And the cops in the hospitals sucked. They would arrest him, put him through court for 6 months. They treated his mental illness as he was a criminal.
Right. They didn't treat it as there was something actually wrong. They treated it like you're a violent person. You're just a criminal. This is how you are.
He was a criminal. He was a bad person.
And this was just recent, wasn't it?
Huh?
This was just recent, too, in the past couple years.
This went on for years. This kid has been put in detention, hospitals. He was in a psychiatric hospital, oh my God, since he was 12 years old till, at least 10 or so times. But I used to get him forced in there because he was under 18. They wouldn't let him come home because I would tell him, I'm afraid for my life, I'm afraid for his life. But the last time, right before he died, he was 23, and I begged this lady, I said, please, please, please. She's like, I'm sending him home. And I'm like, you don't understand. I told her everything he was doing. I'm afraid of my life. I'm afraid for his life, please. She said, sorry, ma'am. If he comes home, then just call the cops. And if he causes trouble. And I was like, are you serious? Because you can't do, yes, I'm going to call the cops. Like, I couldn't even believe she said it to me.
Right.
And then she called my mother, and my mother told her the same thing, that he's out of control. He's really abusing my daughter. I'm scared for my daughter's life, because my best friend thought the day that...
Now, was he ever... he was never violent towards his sister at all? Or towards your husband?
No.
Okay.
He respected her so much. I don't know. And one day, he was, like, blocking me in the hallway and trying to physically abuse me. And I was, like, I was, like, scared that he wouldn't let me. He was, like, blocking me from moving. And I started, like, saying, leave me alone, leave me alone. And she came running out of her room, and she said, this is the first time she ever said anything to him. This was just, like, right before he died. She's like, knock it off. I'm sick of you doing this. Leave her alone. And he abused me for, like, a week after that, because I turned his sister against him, and I didn't. She just had it. Like, she didn't know what to do. She kept quiet, but she was...
Right. It was just one of those hard things to do. I mean, what do you do when this is happening in your family? Because there's no kind of training or help or anything like that. And
no, every help I called just screwed me. That's what they did. They did not help. Like, the cop came to my house that day, right before he died, and I just wanted an ambulance, because that's when the fiance broke up with him, and he went, like, into a mental breakdown.
Was that kind of the straw that you think that kind of snapped it, or do you...
Between her leaving and Chester, oh my God, when Chester died, that kid went crazy. He punched a hole in the wall. He wrote, rest in peace, Chester. He actually, I didn't even know this because I don't have Facebook, but my best friend that set me up for Twitter, that's how she did it, because she's like, I'm setting you up on Twitter. I'm like, no, I don't do social media. A week after he died, my two friends came over, and they just sat with me, and we just cried, and I was just such a wreck. And she's like, Kim, I don't know if this is a good time to show this to you, because and she's like, but it's actually the day he killed himself, an hour before. I told you he was beautiful, and he had a beautiful voice, and he actually sounded a lot like Chester. Right. And he had a band, and they would come and play, and he sounded just like him, like he had that voice.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if I want to hear this, and she's like, you don't see his face because he blacked himself out, because even though he was so gorgeous, he thought he was disgusting and ugly, and he hated himself. Right.
And so he had posted a song just hours before?
Yes, 1 hour. And it was 4 o'clock in the morning, and he sang One More Light. And he was like, and the funny thing is, like, you think that people that kill themselves are, like, as much as I say they drink and stuff, he was actually the most normal that morning than ever before. Like,
well, that's what they say a lot of times. I mean, even with my dad and stuff, people are at a lot of peace. Yeah. And even with my wife, her family, they were people. They almost come to being at peace, and it's a huge change in mentality, just because they know there's a means to this end that of something that's going on that no one else can see, but they are going through it. Yeah. And so it does become a calmness.
Yeah, I think he knew what he was going to do, and that's the scary thing, because like, he had such, like, horrible, debilitating anxiety attacks, and he would, like, pace back and forth, and he'd start, like, Mom, he would go crazy, like,
right.
And he's like, I don't want to die, I'm going to die, and I felt so helpless because I didn't know what to do, and I'd be like, my thing was, like, I would tell him to put his head in the freezer. I would give him a rag. I would try to do anything. I would try to change the subject, talk about this. But if I said, like, anything wrong, like, I said...
It would just kind of trigger him, and he would go off the deep end.
I didn't even mean it, but I didn't know what to do. He would start going crazy. You fucking bitch. Like, starts going crazy at me, swearing, punching shit, breaking stuff. So I would leave the house, and I feel so guilty because I left him, but I had to leave because.
Well, you had to leave for your own safety and your own sanity, and it's hard because we can't control other people's actions, and even when they're going through it, we want to help them. But the most important thing though is to take care of yourself too. Yeah. So,
he wouldn't let me help him. He would blame me and like start like trying to physically hurt me, and he would just break and start shattering things, and I'm like, oh. So I was like scared of my mind. I sat in park lots all day. I didn't know where to go, what to do. I just sat and I had I just sat there. It was hot summer and I didn't know where to go, what to do. I had nobody. to go to because everybody worked and didn't know what to do.
Oh yeah.
And
So then fast forward to so your son ended up taking his life actually the same year and month that my dad took his.
yeah, August 4th. Yeah.
And so, if you don't mind, do you mind kind of sharing with me from a parent's perspective? Because I can share all day long from a kid's perspective to a parent, but from a parent's perspective of what it was like that day, of what happened.
Bed and woke up the next morning. It was Friday, and Friday was my shopping day. And I got up and I took everything was quiet because usually he would like pass out downstairs or go to bed upstairs. I didn't hear anything. I didn't know where he was because I didn't think anything of it. But I went and took my shower, did my hair, got ready, I ran down the store to get a pack of cigarettes, and then but my clothes were downstairs, like in the dryer. That I just had nothing.
Right.
On, just regular clothes.
Yeah, just went down to get your clothes.
Yeah, just my whatever. And so I went. The door was closed, and I was starting. I got this. As a mother, I got a really horrible instinct, and I can't explain it. I was like, "Why am I scared?" Like I was afraid to open the door, and I was like, "Why am I getting this feeling?" It was like the most horrible feeling, anxiety, like horrible. And I was like, "What is this feeling?" So I went upstairs, and now usually when he went to sleep, he would lock his bedroom door. So I just like turned the handle just like really slowly because if I woke him up, he would go crazy, you know.
Right.
So I slowly turned the handle, and the door opened, and I looked, and I opened his door, and it was he was not in there. The bed was made and everything, and I was like, okay, I'm just getting this weird feeling now. So it took me like a while to open the downstairs door.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't do it. I just kept like sitting. I'm talking about an hour. I couldn't open the door. I was like, why am I feeling like this? So I finally opened the damn door. I went down the stairs. Now, if you went to the left, that's where his chair is, his TV and his games and all stuff. I thought, because usually he would pass out on his chair, his computer chair.
Right.
And he wasn't there. I turned to the right in the bathroom door downstairs. We have a bathroom door down there. It's just a toilet and a sink down there. And I went, oh my God. Now, his jujitsu belt that he did, because he did that, he was trained to kill. He did all that.
Right.
So all of a sudden I look, and the door is shut. I could see the light on in the bathroom door because you could see it through. And the jujitsu belt was hanging like a loop outside the door and going inside the door. And I was like, I just froze at the bottom of the stairs, and I was like, no, you got to be effing killing me. Freaking, you got to be, I just didn't know, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. And I couldn't, and I went over to the door, and I went, like touched it. It was locked. I called his name, no answer, and I was like, oh my God. So I came upstairs, and I called my husband, and I'm like, I said, you need to come home. He's like, why? I said, because I told him. He's like, and then I thought like he's drunk and he's passed out on the floor.
Right.
Because he would do stunts like this before to get our attention, to make us worry. And I didn't believe it. I was like, he's definitely passed out. So my husband was very far away, and his friend was close. So he called his friend, and his friend was on his way. And then I called my mother, and I was like, she's like, no, he would never do that. You know how afraid he is to kill himself or to die. I said, Mom, but I have the horrible feeling. I can't even believe this right now. And I'm trying to go fast. And then the friend showed up. He went downstairs, and he's like knocking on the door, and he's like, Ryan. And I'm standing upstairs, and I'm like, did he answer you? And I was thinking he's, and he couldn't get the door open. And he's like, you know what? He came upstairs, we're going to call 911 because he was kind of afraid because he knew Ryan's history of violence, and he was afraid, like, if he was passed out and he did open the door, like, he was afraid for his safety.
Right.
Like, that he might really get up and start trying to...
No, I get it. Yeah, totally get it.
He beat my husband's ass before, too, believe me.
Okay.
He did. He hurt my husband. My husband still has an injury to this day. He punched him straight in the face. He did lots of stuff to my husband.
Right.
And
So he called 911.
Yeah, we called. He went outside and called 911, and I just stood in the front door, and I was like, just like shaking now. I was just like horrible feeling. So they came, and it was like my whole street was just filled with detectives, the cops, the ambulances, the fire department, everything. it was just like the whole street was filled, and they went down. They made us all leave the house. Like they said, get out right now. Like me, my daughter. It was just me. My daughter was in a room with the door closed. She didn't even know anything was going on.
Right.
And I forgot about her, actually. I forgot she was in a room, and they told me to leave. My neighbor, I have such wonderful neighbors on each side of me and the back of me and the cross street and the next, I like 3 houses down, and they all just came out, and they're like, what's going on? What's going on? I was like hysterical. I'm like, I don't know. I think Ryan did something, or I think he killed himself. I don't know.
So did the police have to then break down the door and
no,
then notify you?
Because it's like you could just take like something and just pull like a knife and turn the lock. You know what I mean?
Okay, so they were the ones that were in there, and were they the ones that notified you then of what had happened?
Well, that's the problem. I'm outside. My neighbor pulled up into my driveway. I'm in her car. I couldn't even breathe. My other neighbor is like, what's going on? And the cop has asked me, like, what's your name? What's your birthday? Like, all these stupid questions. And I was like, I couldn't even breathe. I'm like, get the fuck away from me. Like, I didn't say that, but my neighbor, like, got in front of the cop and blocked her. And she almost got arrested because she was going to beat this cop up because she wouldn't stop bothering me. Like, I'm like, is he all right? Is he all right? Is he all right? Is he all right? And I just kept, and she kept saying, she knew he was dead at this point, but she kept telling me. So
who did they tell then that passed away? They didn't. You're the mom, and they didn't say anything to you.
No, they wouldn't tell me. She knew he was dead already, but she kept saying, we're working on him. We're still, you know, doing this. We're still doing that. And then I forgot my daughter was in the freaking room, and I'm like, my daughter is in her room. And that poor girl, they opened her door up, cops, and she's just like sitting there on her computer desk. And she was like freaked out, and they took her out, and she put her, and she went into the backseat of the car, and she just didn't know what the hell was going on, and she started crying, and I'm like, like I couldn't even suck in a breath.
Oh yeah, no, it's a traumatic experience.
Yeah, and she wouldn't tell me. I'm like, could you just tell me? I was getting so angry, and she wouldn't tell me. I said, could you just tell me? And then she finally said, it doesn't look good. I don't think he's alive. And I'm like, I just like couldn't know. I almost actually had the ambulance take me away, actually. And they asked us if we want to come see him, and my husband said yes. And I was like, I don't know if I want to. I was so scared, but I did. And we came into the kitchen, and we looked down the stairs, and they had him his body laying right at the bottom of the stairs. And they had him covered in blankets up to his neck. And my husband went downstairs and like laid next to him and touched his face and said, don't be scared. Don't be scared, my son. It'll be okay. Don't be afraid. And touched his face and I couldn't even. I just stood at the top of the stairs with the cop and almost passed out. I couldn't even go down there. I just like took off. Like I just left, and then my husband stayed while they brought the body bag out and everything. And while he was standing there holding his hand on the bag, a white butterfly just flew out of the. It looked like out of the bag. It just like flew up, hit my husband in the nose, flew up to the door, to the window of my son's bedroom, and just took off.
Aww.
And that's what my husband said. He's like not a believer in anything, but that's where he freaked out. Like about the butterfly.
It made him a believer.
Yeah.
So I want to again thank Kim for sharing her story with us, and I hope you got as much out of it as I did. You know, really, when we share a story, we never know who it's going to reach and who it's going to touch. And it lets everybody know that we're not alone. And that's the whole point of it, is knowing that we're not alone in life and knowing that we're not going through the struggles of life alone. And, you know, to anybody who's ever lost a family member or a friend to suicide, you know, my heart goes out to you. It's a long process. It's a long healing road. But it can be done. And you know what? No one should suffer silently. It comes down to remembering that the smallest things that we do for others can have the biggest impact. So, you know, next time that you see somebody and you think that they might be hurting, just ask them how their day is, or check in on your strongest friends and truly do that. Ask them how they're doing. Dig in with them a little bit and find out, because we can really make a huge difference in each other's lives. So next week, I'm going to end up having Nettie, who's a Twitter follower, end up sharing her story with self-harm. And these podcasts are really going to get into, sharing our story and letting everyone know they're not alone, and finding maybe some tools and resources that we can find that will help us get through it a little bit easier. So I look forward to next week's podcast. I hope you got a lot out of this one. And again, if you haven't subscribed to us, subscribe to our SoundCloud channel. Find us online on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. And, it comes down to people helping people.